Hi everybody, welcome to the Mojo Sessions, your online television channel that gives you access to some of Australia's best business leaders. Now, some of these people you may not know, but they're talking about stuff that you have to know. Tonight we're going to be talking about creating a culture, vision, talking about values, being a fit leader, and talking about retail and where it's going. And to do that, we've got a retail expert with us. Bruno Maurel is the Executive Chairman of Creative Activation, and he's running a company with 7,500 staff. Bruno, it is such a treat to have you here tonight, mate. Thank you so much for coming into St Andrew's Chapel to be part of the Mojo session.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is. It's special.
Very special.
Tell us about Creative Activation. Just tell us about the business itself. What does it do?
Well, Creative Activation is an organisation that drives engagement, customer engagement and sales for some of the world's best brands. Essentially, we have 7,000 staff that actually carry out a whole list of tasks such as sales, merchandising, ambassador programs, mystery shopping and auditing. To just name a few of those services for companies such as the likes of Optus, Procter & Gamble, Disney, Diageo. So it's across quite a number of categories where we actually represent their brand.
Yeah, just a couple of names.
And Sony. Sony,
cool.
They are a fantastic brand, absolutely.
You're not getting paid for these sponsorships, buddy.
No, wish I was.
So pretty much what you're saying is creative activation. If I'm going shopping with my family and going into a Harvey Norman or a Woolworths, pretty much your job is to make sure everything looks, feels, sounds right to get me to purchase something. Is that pretty much?
Absolutely, try and engage you the best that we can to purchase that brand.
Yeah. Now, I know you've been in retail for quite a while now, back through your days, through the early days of supermarkets and Bilo and so on. You must have seen some amazing changes in retail in that time. I mean, what are the most prevalent changes you're seeing that bring us to this day today?
Yeah, well, obviously the technology is changed the whole world. I mean, we all know online shopping is on the increase. But I guess the two major things that sort of bring all that together for me is really today the power of a customer. The customer is a lot smarter in terms of they've got access to choices. They can go online, they can find a price, they can find alternate ways to purchase it. So the power really sits with the consumer, and more they're doing their research online before they even go to a retail outlet. If you start thinking about now where the mobile phones have gone, the minute somebody goes to make a purchase, the first thing that they do is actually dial it in. So I think that's certainly shifted the power into the consumer's hands. The other thing about the power of that is that if a consumer's delighted or if they're disappointed, they'll also start using social media, which can either grow a brand or can destroy a brand. So the whole recommendation and, advertising and marketing really changes into the power of the consumer. The other thing that I think, if you look at Australia in particular, that's changed a lot is really the power of the likes of a Wesfarmers and a Woolworths group. Today, more and more, they're very, very powerful. They're into everything from petrol through to hardware, insurance. So the likes of their power can actually start controlling how I behave. So for example, an 8 cent a litre sees me going into a Caltex or into a Shell to buy my petrol, and thereby, and they're continuing to do that with their offer and their strength.
You challenged me to send you some tricky questions, which I'm going to do, because something you said just really made me think about the people who are watching this. Say everybody's sitting in their lounge room. They're probably, like you say, sitting on a bus, back of a taxi, watching the Mojo sessions. And everybody's got an idea for a product. It's a better soft drink, a better beer, a better dishwashing liquid, better set of sheets. Everyone's got an idea for something. If you were that person right now, if you were going to give some advice to that person, one piece of advice to say, you're about to introduce a new product, because you guys are the experts at it, what would be that one piece of advice you'd give to someone who has a product idea in their mind and is thinking of going to market with it in today's age?
Well, firstly, I think you've got to be really, really clear on what is your point of difference and how you're going to take it to market. And so my first piece of advice is really go and start talking to people that are in retail to say, how do I bring that to market? Because too many people think that they have a point of difference when they really don't have a point of difference. And therefore they can spend a lot of time, a lot of money, because they haven't got that clarity, not being able to move it forward.
That's good. Now that's really good actually. You've got 7,000 odd staff at last count. I know you've done an amazing job with creating a set of values that runs through the whole organisation. And what you've done is things that people who, in businesses of all sizes, could only aspire to. Can you talk about the values of creative activation and what you've done to embed that into a 7,000 strong team?
Well, firstly, it didn't start at 7,000. As you and I know, our relationship goes back a long way, and it's a journey. But if you start talking about values, it's not what you say, it's actually what you do. The clever thing that I think we did together was, we brought a senior team together to identify how we will behave with every client, every staff member along this journey. And we called it Purple, And Purple stands for partnership, unity, results, passion, laughter and excellence. When you have a set of values, it's a 365 day a week, 300 a year task to actually live it. And also to make sure that everybody within the organisation is living it. So the journey was everything from having purple doors to purple folders to purple armbands that I still wear today, through to challenging anybody that didn't live those values. And that could be as simple as somebody talking badly about one of our clients, and you could feel the hairs on the back of your neck, and you walk over there and say, look, can you just talk me through how that resonates with partnership? Or if somebody was going off on a tangent, you go, can you please explain to me how that's unity? So it's every day, it's every single thing that you do that actually forms that culture. And today the 7,000 people aren't in one location. No. They're spread all over Australia, all over New Zealand, and it resonates with them because we live and breathe it.
I think also that you've probably played it down a little bit, but I think the important part also is that you embody it. You've had that purple band on your arm for many, many years now. You've even turned up tonight wearing a purple shirt, which I know probably wasn't any accident. And I know you run a purple ball each year for all your clients, for hundreds and hundreds of clients and staff, and it's a black tie with a splash of purple. But it's important for the leader to really adopt it and lead it, isn't it? And you've got to live by example and walk the talk. Would you agree with that? It's got to come from your heart, and it's got to be in everything that you do. And if it's not there, and the beautiful thing is along the way, I've had a great team around me that not only have embraced the values but have added to the values and brought different, if you like, improvements on those values. And one of them is about excellence, and it's that continuous improvement. So there's a lot to it, but it's what you live and breathe. So you've got to believe it as a leader, but then you've got to empower your team to be able to, work with these things and make it their own too, isn't it? I mean, you've got to...
Well, again, if you start thinking about a set of values, there's the vision where you call out to your team and say, look, this is where we're going.
Yep.
There's the mission, which starts talking about how we're going to get there. But invariably, it's the values. It's how we're going to behave in the journey to getting there. And for me, if you don't link the three together, then you can't build a solid organisation.
And that's the base of a culture, right?
That's the base of a culture.
Let's take an exit here and talk about Bruno Maurel, the man. You love a movie, I believe, called Dead Poets Society, Robin Williams. What we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look at the clip that you love. Once we've seen the clip, we're going to ask you, what is it about this clip that really resonates with you? So this is Dead Poets Society, Robin Williams.
Close. You can hear them whisper their legacy to you. Go on, lean in. Listen. You hear it? Hear it?
So what is it about this clip that really hits it home for you?
Well, definitely for me, it's the word carpe diem, seize the day. I was very fortunate at the age of 10 to come out to Australia. You know, my mum and my sister came out here, and throughout my life, I've lived a very, very fortunate life, from humble beginnings to having the opportunities that Australia and this life brings to us. And along the way, I guess I've seen some people very unlucky or unfortunate going through, life's a matter of seconds, isn't it? It's today, it's this, and tomorrow it's that. And I've been fortunate as well, because there's been times when I've come close to that. You suddenly realise that seizing the day and actually appreciating what you've got each day on this earth, and what you've got around you, the wonderful people that you have and the love that you have around you, it's got to come from the heart, and you've really got to take advantage of that day. So when I stand back and I look at that, it sort of sends shivers up my spine, but at the same time it resonates. Every morning when I wiggle my toes, I go, I've been given another day to enjoy.
And I know that, I wasn't there, but I've been told that after you wiggled your toes, you then start to exercise, and fitness and health is one of those things that you have said you're privileged to have and blessed, and you work hard at it. How important is fitness for a leader to you? You've probably seen both sides of the coin, and now you're in a very good place. How important do you find it is for you personally?
Well, fit body, fit mind. There's a lot asked of people today in the work environment, Gary, and there's a lot of leaders working long hours.
Yep.
They're answering phone calls, they're starting their emails first thing in the morning at 6 in the morning, and at 10 o'clock they're out with clients and so forth. So if you don't set time to be healthy, then how can you be good for anybody else? How do you add value to your family life? How do you add value? How do you have the energy to get through meetings? How do you think clearly? And it gets back to, you are what you eat. So if you're not thinking about what you eat, if you're not thinking about exercising, and you're not feeling healthy, then I struggle to see how you can lead other people or expect to have the energy to be able to give to other people.
And I suspect also that if you don't have the energy and the clarity of mind, and then it's pretty hard to seize the day. You're probably missing out on opportunities.
Absolutely. And seizing the day is not just about today, it's seizing the day in the future. You know, and one of the things, you know, I have, you know, beautiful family. I at the age of 60, 65, 70, I want to be kicking the football around with my grandchildren. I want to be the one that's seizing the day. I want to, you know, walk Kosciuszko. I want to go out and, you know, live the second part of my life. It's a gift.
Good on you. Now, I know also that you're a ferocious reader, and Dr. Wayne Dyer is a favourite author of yours. What is it about Dr. Wayne Dyer's writings? I know this is one book that I know that has had an impact on you. How has this impacted you as a leader, both maybe in and out of work?
Well, it goes back to my days in retail. I attended a course and it was all about the power of the mind. And at the course, they recommended a read of, you know, You'll See It When You Believe It. And I picked it up and it changed my life, because if you truly believe in something, you can make it happen. Nothing's impossible. I'm currently reading another book from Wayne Dyer called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And again, it's taken me to another level. So I think the whole concept about reading and feeding your mind is really, really important. I mean, a lot of leaders spend a lot of time feeding their bodies, but sometimes they're not feeding their minds enough, because if you're reading, it enables you to shift your paradigms and actually start seeing things from different perspectives. I mean, we go back to Dead Poets Society when he makes them get up on the table and look at the room from a different perspective.
Just when you think you know something.
Just when you think.
Look at a different way.
Look at it in different ways. So, so he's just a very, very, you know, great writer and inspirational writer. But there's a lot more. You know, at the end of the day, it's not just about reading it, it's what's one nugget that you're actually going to start using, because I think a lot of people can read things, but unless you start applying it into your life and it becomes part of you, then it's a wasted opportunity.
So reading, obviously you're a ferocious reader, you love consuming books and that sort of stuff. What else do you do to keep your creative mojo and your creative spirit going?
Well, I think I go back and my mojo really centres around having a balanced life. I think, Gary, when we sat down 7 years ago before I sold our organisation, one of the things you opened my eyes to was that there's more to life than looking at the world through a work perspective. So every year I actually sit down for a whole month and plan out my whole year. But I don't plan out my whole year in just one part of my life. I actually look at my life in 6 dimensions. Yes, I do look at the business side of myself, but more importantly, I'll start on the health, because if you haven't got health, you can't do anything. Then I talk about my family, the spiritual side of myself, the educational side of myself, the financial side of myself, and then what am I going to do in terms of social justice? So when you combine that, you end up with a calendar of, well, firstly you end up with clear goals. So,
and priorities.
And priorities. And the other thing that you do is you end up with a calendar that is balanced and starts putting things into perspective, so that when somebody tries to tempt you with something that may not fit within that framework, it's an easy decision.
If you don't know what's right, you can't tell what's wrong, right?
Correct.
Where do you draw your inspiration from?
That's an interesting. I mean, there's inspiration all around us, isn't there? I love people that just get on and do things. They've got a positive attitude. they face the tough challenges of life, but they don't look at it as a challenge. They just go about it, face it, and take it on with a very, very positive attitude. And, you know, we come across those cases in Tour de Cure, for example, Gary, you know, when we're exposed to people with cancer and so forth. So one of the most inspirational people in my life is my wife. She's, over the years, she's faced challenges, and yet she never ceases to just amaze me with just a positive attitude, and also just the humility that she goes about doing things, and not looking for any gratitude or anything like that, just doing things.
That's nice, that's good. She'll love that.
So you better watch this.
Yeah, I'll make sure she sees it.
Yeah.
We'll send her in here. One last question. Well, I've got a couple of questions before I let you go tonight. This is a good one for you. How do you deal with the voice of doubt? Because you're leading an organisation with 7,000 opinions. You're dealing with personalities at some of the world's leading brands. You have sold an organisation to one of Australia's greatest advertising agencies. I mean, there's a lot of stuff goes on around you. How do you handle the voice of doubt that starts talking to you, that bastard back there that starts that negative naysayer? How do you personally deal with that?
You'll see it when you believe it. The opportunities are there. One of the things you've got to go back to and say, it's about trust. If you're genuine about what you're doing and you believe that, you know, there's a world of opportunity out there, there is no doubt. You just be clear about where you're going and move forward. There's no doubt.
I remember seeing a scene with Robert De Niro in Ronin, and the guy said, when there is doubt, there is no doubt, which goes back to, maybe he'd seen you speak somewhere and picked that up and put it in the movie.
I wish he did.
One last question, and it's a question, I just love asking people this question. If you were back in your really early days of being in supermarkets, or you're about to get your first job, and you could look back now and go, you know, a young Bruno Maurel, if I was going to give you one piece of advice to my young self, what would you say to yourself?
It's a good question. There's a couple of answers to that.
Feel free.
But I remember there was a CEO at Bilo. His name was Angus Richards, so I can still remember him. He was a grey-haired man, and he gave me my first appointment as an area manager. He looked at me in the eyes and he said, never forget where you came from. And that certainly stuck with me right through my life. But strip that back a little bit. The advice that I have is that the world is full of opportunities. Yeah, it's limitless. But you actually got to care for people. So it's everything from your clients through to your team around you, through to your family. And if you do the right thing, everything else falls into place. And if you ever doubt about what the right thing is, look inside yourself.
This show could go for 3 hours. Just talking to you. You're such a unique individual, great man. You're doing great things for the organisation. I know you also do great work for the community in lots of different areas, and I think you should be congratulated for it, mate. Thank you for taking the time to come in and sharing some wise wisdom, some great nuggets. Folks, that's all from the Mojo sessions tonight. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We're back again shortly with some other great business leaders to give you great mojo to help you win in business and your personal lives. Good night, folks. Thank you, buddy.
Done.